Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So I thought it'd be fun today to do a sketchbook type of video, but in real time, because I've been mostly doing, I feel like, time lapses with voiceovers. So it would be kind of nice to do one where I will show you more of like in real time process of me working on a spread in my sketchbook. So before I actually use the binder clips to kind of clip down my pages to kind of let it lay flat, I have not done a kind of like specific doodling method or sketching method that I used to do like quite a bit in my sketchbook. I'm trying to find like a very specific spread here. So in the past, I would use like a few different colors, maybe like 2 to 3, and kind of just make some sort of palette with them and make it very limited and just doodle a character. So this is kind of an example. I did end up using like black ink for the outlines for this. I also use like water-based markers typically for those, and I used them for like doodling as well. So just like blocking in color or shadow or value for some sketches. I don't think I have anything else really in here other than like maybe my old one will make a little bit more sense. So I'll show you guys that in a bit. So let's go ahead and clip down our page so that our sketchbook can lay completely flat this time. I kind of wanted to take a break from doing too much painting in the sketchbook so that I have a few pages that are not like completely wrinkly, because it's low-key sometimes a nightmare to sketch on. So to start off, because I know I'm going to be using water-based markers, I like to kind of make my lines not as like harsh. So I'm going to be using the palette Color ENO in the color red. And the character that I kind of want to draw today is actually the Snow Miku design for 2026. So I have always loved the Snow Miku designs, and there was one particular spread which I have found right here in one of my old sketchbooks of the 2024 Snow Miku. At least hopefully this is the 2024 version. So it's like one of my favorite Snow Mikus, and I ended up doing a spread with kind of like what I would consider like a limited color palette. Granted, we have, let's see, the light blue, we have this kind of like tan orange color, then we have like a deeper, more salmon-ish kind of color, so that's 3, and then I ended up using like a dark brown for the line work, which ends up being 4 colors. But it does seem more of like a kind of cohesive color palette in a sense, and it's more of a limited color palette. So I wanted to do that for the Snow Miku for next year. But I wanted to show you guys some examples of like when I used to doodle more with the limited color palettes. Typically I like to choose like a warmer color and a cooler color just to have something kind of contrasting here and there. Sometimes I use it for blocking. Here's another one that's doodling. This one's like very dark. I've been more gravitating towards like mid-tone colors to lighter colors so that I could have a darker line art for the sketches, but otherwise like I could just use black like I did for Kaisen's spread right here. For Chongyun, since he had a lighter color palette, ended up using like a dark blue for his line work. So I think that's what we are going to be doing today. I don't really have a color palette in mind. She has a lot of like pinks, browns, blues, and yellows all together, so it'll be a little bit hard for me to like pinpoint. I could just do 3 colors of the base colors of flats. No, let's just get started with sketching. I want to kind of like change it up for myself a little bit and start from this side and maybe head this way. Typically I start in the bottom left hand corner or like just somewhere on the left hand side and then kind of splay out this way, but hopefully me changing it up will let me draw some other poses or more unique ways to fill in the spaces. But because I haven't drawn this particular Snow Miku or this character in general, I am going to try my best. I'm going to put the reference here to draw her kind of like more like a full body so I can get used to her design in a sense. And I always forget if her little like snow rabbit has a name. I think, do we want to go like this? So unfortunately, I'm going to see if I can dim my gain on my camera, because you guys aren't going to be able to see my sketches as clearly because the red doesn't really show up too nicely from far away. I have a bit more shadow, but it might be a little bit easier for you guys to see if the gain is more like that. So I just want to throw down some sort of pose. Now, I feel like whenever I work with this method of wanting to do some sort of sketch and then block in my flats with a water-based marker and then doing inking afterwards, I think I typically do the entire spread with my sketches first. So then when I go in with my water-based markers, I can kind of block everything all at once. Probably do something like this. I gave her a little bit of like longer proportions. This Miku looks a little bit more shorter for 2026. Oh, I just noticed her hair. It's so cute. I love the creativity from like Snow Mikus. They're always so like adorable with like the themes. I don't really remember too much of what 2025's looks like, but I love like the food themed ones for sure. Also for color, or more or less like the line art, it will kind of change my color palette a little bit. So if I end up going with just like straight up black line work or some sort of like harsher line work, sometimes I exclude black from like the color palette unless like the character has like a very dark color present. I like using black to fill in as that value instead. But if I can use like a different color in place of black, then I would like to do that. Otherwise, just because like it does create a little bit more of a softer look. So if I can kind of fix this up a smidge when I do the inking, she's looking a little funny. I use line art like for traditional art sometimes as a crutch. I'll do something like this. It's not gonna be as cute because like I said, I kind of made her like more of a longer proportioning, so it's less like squat and kind of like cutesy. I feel like the Snow Miku's design, or at least like the official art, is very cutesy. I have a beret. Like a little roll cake. Oh, some exciting news though. My fabric for Selwyn came in. Now, I'm kind of disappointed in my choices for fabric colors. His hair color was very like standard, and I feel like it was hard for me to match like what his pants color was because I was looking for a very specific kind of like burnt orange color. And then the fabric that I got for his sweater is also like not correct, but I think I might just proceed with it. That or I might dig around to see what like other fabrics that I have from like previous projects from in the past. Ah, I always love Miku. She's so cute. So some of these stuff, like I will end up kind of fleshing out a lot of the details when I do line art. Like I said, I kind of use it as a crutch, but that way I can kind of like decide how much detail I want, as well as like deciding the contrast a little bit. Because sometimes for these like sketches and doodles, I just keep it very simple. I don't really care too much, and that comes out a lot when I spend doing like the inking portion. Little sprinkles. Now, because of like the different colors present in her entire design, I do want to try to include at least pink and blue and yellow somehow, and then maybe we'll choose like a dark reddish brown or a dark muted brown or something like that to do the rest of the outfit. Also, music-wise, I'm listening to Time Machine, which is like a Vocaloid song as well. But I'm listening to Clear's version. This one's not gonna be as cute. It's okay. So in the past, especially when I drew like a bunch of Genshin characters, I would always sketch some sort of like full body waist up-ish kind of esque sketch on like either side of the spread so that I could get used of what the character looks like, so then when I sketch the rest of our sketchbook spread, I wouldn't have to like look at my reference like as closely, and hopefully I will be a little bit more confident in drawing the character because I've at least drawn them once and having a little bit more familiarity with the character at that point, or at least I would hope. I forget if this guy has like a name, the little rabbit that always accompanies the Snow Miku for every year. This is what we can call our first finished sketch done. I might put text somewhere so I will remember that which year this is for the Snow Miku. I'm trying to think. So I can think of either filling up the space down here right away or try to connect it by sketching something up here and then be left with this kind of like L shape. Also, I just realized I could zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see her a little bit more clearly. I'll put like the little cookie locket behind him. Also, I've been playing like Kirby's Air Ride with my brother. Oh my god, I love that game so much. It's so fun. Because I finished the story mode for the both of us so we can move on. But I didn't know there was a true ending, so I'll have to do that eventually. Yeah, I want to think of something to put here. Usually for things like this, I could always split it so that it's more of like a side view of the character. Because that way like the eyes and the mouth are at least on one side of the page, and then the rest can be kind of like on the other, so I don't really care about if it hits the seam. Because the thing is like this does warp the face a bit, so I don't like drawing the face right on the middle of this if it's like, you know, splitting it one eye here, one eye here. It just looks a little funny. What if we do... Maybe look kind of like having her look this way. Also, the size of like my sketch determines like the eye style typically. Because sometimes I do like just the eye white, or not eye white, what is it called? Your highlight for your character, just like smacked in the middle of the character's eye. And then other times I do it where it's like more detailed, I guess, or like I will hopefully ink it a little bit more detailed. From the little cookie, her hat. This little thing with the roll cake. Also, the roll cake design is so smart, making it the... Is it the base clef? I used to be so obsessed with like Vocaloid, Hatsune Miku, kind of like Gumi, and all of them. Because even like my old OC Sairi was like kind of like a knockoff of Gumi at the time. Because she was like my favorite out of like their vocal color, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do a full side view version of this. Maybe I do. The tray go right against her chest. Quickly add in her collar. The frills of her apron. So I wasn't too sure if I wanted this entire side view one to take up so much space, because I don't know if I really like the doodle at this point, but maybe I'll do it like this. I guess I'll go down here and then figure out what small space we can fit for whatever down there. Or up here. So I'm like off-centered, so I keep moving my sketchbook. We'll do this then. I'm just hoping the colors I choose will represent her well. But if I butcher it during the flats on the liner, it's gonna really suck. I am gonna take a picture probably of the sketch, because so far I like these ones. I'm trying to make her face cuter. Oops, I'm gonna draw on her bangs a little too. I love how you can tell like when it's a Miku or not, typically. From like color and then like as well as the hairstyle. I make her shoulders not too wide. The tray of sweets or like baked goods. And then she has like a little rabbit bun here. I'll figure this out. Maybe it'll be only 3, then I can put text up here. We'll make the text look a little bit fancier so it doesn't look too plain. This typography and like fonts, all that stuff is definitely not my strong suit. Cute little cookie. So if you hold it like this, because it's your thumbs. Obviously the big ice cream sleeves. Okay, I'm gonna quickly look up a cute font. So I'm gonna go to 1001fonts.com. I'm gonna browse to see if I can find something very cute. Let's go cute. This font's very, very cute. So let me use this one. Hopefully I can see it. This background's dark. Okay, there we go. So I have my reference on my phone here. I don't know if you get how well you guys can see it. Like that. So I'm not gonna follow it exactly. I am gonna change the placement of some of the letters. So snow, and then make it cut off slightly. I don't really plan out the distance. Kind of do like that, and we'll just put the date down here. So this is 20. I want to do this. The text doesn't have ones for numbers, so I'm just gonna make it up. Snow Miku 2026. I think these actually look pretty cute. I might try to adjust this one so that it looks more like Snow Miku. I don't know if I like this cutting into her face. She also has like really cute, almost like ribbon swirling into her hair as well. Okay, I think we can move on to some color. Now, luckily, I think my sketch will be able to stand out pretty okay. So I just have to be a little bit careful when blocking in the colors that I want to use. And then after that, we can move on to inking. But let me show you guys how I typically like to kind of pick colors out when I need to plan out a color palette for something like a full spread that I want to look kind of more like cohesive. So I have a sketchbook right here that has like all of my kind of swatches all together. So this is actually a test page. So these are all the water-based markers that I usually use for something like this type of spread. So these are the Magicfly Dual tip markers. These ones are the Tombow dual tip markers. And then these ones are the Ohuhu water-based markers, which are much more on the softer side. So I'm kind of compelled to use one of the softer yellows, like maybe primary yellow, but also this one would definitely work as well. Or if you want to go kind of like lighter but slightly more warm, because these ones are very cool in color or like in tone, but this like I don't know. Actually, what are these from? Maybe this is from me doing some testing. So we could do this blue, unless we want to do only the dual tip markers. Because I could definitely go with a very pastel looking color palette and go blue, pink, and yellow from the Tombow set. And then look for a color do we want to use. There's nothing really that matches the brown because I want it to be softer. I could try using this. It might not be dark enough. I'm gonna have to resort to using maybe this one. So basically what I like to do is kind of like look at an overview of all of my colors first. Then we'll select the colors and then do quick swatching, which I've done so many kind of like swatch sheets in here. So this one's like for Hyacine that I did like a while back. These are also swatches from different color palettes. These are alcohol marker swatches. More swatches down here. So I swatch like a lot. So maybe we'll make a new page for swatching. I can use this page because it's so old, but I think we'll just use a whole new page for swatching. So let's swatch here. And here is my Magicfly markers, and then these ones are my dual tip Tombow ones. So I'm gonna grab the pastel ones quickly from this set. So we have our yellow, which I'm gonna set over here, our blue, and our pink. And then in this set, we're gonna have to take a quick look at our swatches. These aren't like numbered by any means, but I keep track by separating them into rows of 10. And then these trays have 20 in them. So I mark off like where the halfway mark is for both of them. So I can easily identify which marker is what. So I'm looking at either, I feel like this one's lighter, probably. So that's in my last tray, and it's number 6. So I guess it's this one. So we have blue. I'll do blue and pink together. We have yellow. So this is gonna be a very light color palette, which is why I wish I had like a softer brown. So it's not quite like too reddish. I do like that it's on the warmer side, but I don't know if I like this per se. So it's very dark. Let's see, what else do I have? Ooh, I kind of like this, but it's not quite reddish enough for me. So that one's one's this one. We could do 5. So this is like... Yeah, I think we'll use this color. It's dark enough. It's a little bit more red. It is much darker than the colors that I chose, but I think it's okay. So I usually don't do like a line test over them that often. Sometimes I scribble on my swatches just to check whether or not the darkness would work. Sometimes I do layering just to test them out. But if you're unsure about your colors, I definitely recommend doing some sort of swatch. But pastels are very hard to go wrong with, I feel like. So typically, to kind of start off, I like kind of adding in where I would consider the warmest color. And I like to add this to the skin tone in a way. Also, if your color has like 2 tips, you can definitely take advantage of the finer side and do more of like hatching if you want like a lighter color compared to what you already initially laid down from just like the brush tip portion, if that makes sense. Also, I might color the brown areas with pink still because it is on the warmer side, and then we'll hatch with the brown. That way we don't have too many areas that are just like plain white and like stark brown together. Hopefully this will have a way of balancing out the amount of like blue probably. So I'm going to be using the yellow as well, mostly to do the shadows and values for any of the areas that are more like cream colored or white in this case. She just had like snowflakes in her hair, which might be a bit harder for me to color around. Because also for like color palettes, it's often easier to try to balance out 2 colors and then have an accent color to be your like your third. The pastels does make it a little bit easier. Oops, her bow is, or her ribbon is blue. Quickly do the stripes, and then some of the sprinkles on her outfit are pink. It's not too much pink, so that's why I'm kind of glad I'm doing like the pink for a lot of the brown areas initially. And I noticed that I missed doing the little ribbon. Color this in. I'll figure out how I want to do the text, because I feel like I'm going to do it in blue, probably, but my brushwork is a little bit weak, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, she has like a square tray. I've been giving her like a round one. Oops. Add a little bit of pink to the tops of her eyes. I think that's it for the pink, to be honest. It's not like too overwhelmingly pink. I think it's mostly going to be blue, which I will add next. And that will be like her eyes. She does have like swirls of kind of like the cream color, so I do want to leave some areas that would just be the cream color swirling in. And water-based markers just will be streaky regardless, so there's no need to try to make these all very clean looking. We're trying to reduce the amount of streaks. I do find like if you work more in a circular-ish motion, you can kind of eliminate a little bit more of it. rather than like a straight back and forth. Unless you're working like super quickly, sometimes it reads a little bit more flat. So it's blue on the end of her sleeve. We'll add a little bit of our sprinkle color into here. Then blue for the rest of her dress. I'm always curious about like other Tombow colors. Oops, I was supposed to leave that white. Is there another image? I think there's like a reference sheet for the Snow Miku, which I should look up. Ah, so cute. Okay, let's see. Ah, okay. So I did not see this. She has a nice puffy sleeve, which I've already drawn. And then she also has a ribbon here. And it's kind of separated, so there's more skin exposed right here. Color the rest in blue. Such a cute design. I seriously cannot stop talking about how much I love the Snow Miku. It's so cute. Just taking advantage of like the shape of the marker to leave kind of more like a hair shine texture. I'll do this one really quickly, and then I think we just have the yellow to do, and then we can do the line work. I forgot to add a little bit more pink to her forehead. Bring back the pink for a little bit. So I think that looks a little bit cuter. Then we'll use the yellow, which technically is like one of the most... Wait, is this the right yellow? It looks so vibrant. Like highlighter yellow. Is this actually the right yellow? I guess it is. It looks very different on this paper, which kind of is throwing me off. It's so bright. I don't know if I like it. Let's use it to accent the eyes a smidge. I don't know if I'm gonna have regrets. Ooh, I don't know if I like this yellow anymore. I guess technically the blue and pink would have sufficed quite nicely. Because when I color stuff that has more of like a white tinge to it, I guess, or I need a shade white, I like using pink and blue and even like purple to do the shadows for that. This yellow is very highlightery and it looks even more like egg yolky colored in the camera. Oh no. I mean, at that point of me laying down the first thing of yellow, I could have just stopped, so maybe I should have, but I guess at this point I'm too committed. I'll add some yellow into the background so it's not as jarring. This might be the only yellow that I'm gonna leave in. Let's go back in with our blue. Hopefully, be able to follow my crappy lettering here. Technically, something darker would have worked the best, or if I'm smart. Where's my kneaded eraser? Should have done this earlier. We'll just lighten up our text here. Snow Miku 2026. I might add something to this to make it a little bit darker, but this is kind of what our rough colors are kind of looking like, or our flats, I guess. So next thing is to kind of make them a little bit more clean by adding some sort of line art. So I hope you guys don't mind this angle, because I don't want to accidentally block the entire inking process with my hand being in the way. So hopefully you guys being on my left will make it a little bit easier for you guys to view what we are going to be doing next, which is line art. So line art, sometimes I treat it very cleanly, sometimes I just give enough context for the shapes, but I'm using the Magicfly art fine liners. So usually it has like this kind of brush tip nib at one end, and then on this side we have our fine liner side, which I like to use for lining. And I especially like using these for alcohol marker drawings because I find that whenever I do line art with these, they don't smudge at all with the ink. So I can't do line art first with water-based markers because these ones are also water-based. Therefore, if I were to use this as line art and then go over it with the water-based markers, I'll be smudging around my lines a lot and picking up all like the pigment from this particular marker and like smearing it. So it'll be very muddy. The lines will probably disappear to some extent because it's going to be mixed in. So we don't want that. So that's why I'm going to be doing line art after. Also, it's kind of like just fun to do it afterwards because I get to kind of like pick and choose how I want my sketches to look. So if I'm feeling ambitious, we can make them look more finished. But if I'm not feeling like it, then we can leave them very blank or very sparse and very sketchy looking. But when doing like the inking and or the line art for something like this, I do like picking typically a dark enough color because like even if my colors are very rough, then at least my line art can make it look a little bit more clean. I've tilted her eyes completely this way. She still looks cute, but the eyes are definitely tilting now. Whoops, such an uneven cookie. I feel bad not adding in like some sort of snowflake design. That's like very ugly. Oh well. If I planned it out, I could have actually had a snowflake pattern, but I can't really see any lines that I sketched out earlier. So I can tell I've used this fine liner a lot as well, because I kind of feel like I've beaten the edge of this a little bit too much from how much pressure I used probably in the earlier days of using these markers. Hopefully you can kind of tell what I mean, that I do end up putting sometimes more detail in this phase than in either my sketch or trying to block it out with the initial coloring. But this helps me define like a lot of the forms that get lost as well. So 1 second, I need to grab my other book because I think this is the right height. Yes. So that I can have my hand be on top of this to do the line art for whatever's on this side of the page. little strawberry. Kind of our base clef little swirl on our roll cake. This gives more snail than it does roll cake. And I might shade part of this in because, like I said, this is actually supposed to be a lot darker. So I just want to figure out how I want to do this exactly without making it look too messy, which sometimes I do opt for. I'm going to play it a little bit more safer and just block this in very kind of carefully. I might darken this bottom edge so that this is kind of more like the reflective bounce light, and then this is just the normal color of her hat. I think it looks cute. So I'm gonna lock this in. So depending on how detailed I want things to look will determine how long I'm going to spend on this. Because I could definitely leave my lines like this. Sometimes I want to add a little bit of more depth or line weight variation by thickening up some of the lines so that they read a little bit more of like a 3D object rather than something completely flat. But as for like any type of sketch type method, you can just do whatever you're willing to do or whatever satisfies your need for your drawing. Because her eye was looking so much cuter until I kept adding stuff. These are very like Easter colors. I think that's why it's also very pleasing to the eye, because one, they're all pastels, so it's like I said, it's a little bit harder for you to go wrong with it. But also Easter colors, I think a lot of people are more well acquainted with, or because they're very like cotton candy, sweets themed. It's very easy to think that they look relatively pleasing to the eyes. Yeah, sometimes this phase of drawing or portion, whenever I do these kinds of little doodles with these water-based markers, sometimes this is my favorite part because I get to just take my time and add little details that I think would fit whatever I'm drawing. And sometimes like when I break up my lines, it just looks a little bit too harsh and or messy. So depending on where the lines I want to kind of like break up, even if like I just don't want a consistent line going through, I do like the dot dash type of thing. So putting like a dot in between your line gaps. Gonna wait until that dries a little bit. I think I've asked before what you guys are your favorite mediums to use in your sketchbook, or I guess like what's your most used medium, whether or not that's like digital or traditional. If you do some sort of like art, I guess like, or I guess anything akin to drawing, you do anything that's like more towards sketching. Is there a favorite way that you like to sketch? Is it purely just like thumbnailing and you do them in pencil? Do you do a lot of like gesture studies? Do you do a lot of outfits? Do you just draw random things that come to mind? Because I think I'm glad that Selwyn kind of revitalized my... Wow, I just like snapped my nail. Randomly. I heard it fling somewhere, so I'm gonna have to find it. I might cut this really quickly though, but let me know what's your favorite thing to sketch in your sketchbook lately, if you do keep one, or if even it's like some sort of like digital version of a sketchbook. Whatever you've been sketching more lately, let me know while I go clean this up a bit. I should probably cut the rest of my nails, to be honest. I feel like at this point, so many have broken that I should just like make these two and my thumb match. Not these two. I don't know. Super cute dress. I do wish I added more in like the snowflakes and stuff. I might go back in. I don't think any of my paint markers are pigmented enough. Maybe there's one or two that I could find. But I could add in some of those snowflake designs because they're super cute. I think the one that was more of like, what salmon version of Miku? I think I also used like a brown. It might be the same brown that I'm using that I used for that one too. She's looking cute though. I'm not as like bummed about it. I think I took a break from doing as many of like these water-based marker drawings because the last ones that I've done I just did not like. I don't know if it's because I did not take my time to actually just sketch something I was willing to take time on and not just like try to fill a sketchbook spread because I should fill something today. Kind of stuff down here. This is what I would consider like when I get lazy. I've talked about this before too. Inking puts a very carpal tunnel-y feeling into my hand. So usually I have to like stretch it and just be careful of how I'm gripping my pen. Right now it feels okay. I was doing like a spread earlier in my sketchbook prior to this one. Literally the spread behind this page. But oh boy. Does my hand like feel like it was cramping? It was like a lot of pain right here. Because like I think it's when I ink, I scrunch this up so much. Every time I do inking, I like can't think of anything else right now, so I go very quiet. Once again, I've pushed the side pieces of her hair like outwards, I guess, or towards Miku, rather than kind of like framing her face cutely, where it's like curling inwards. I'm trying to think like what other themes or like creative ideas people will have for like next year's Miku. I know like some of them are so well done, but it just like misses the theme ever so slightly. So I know it usually gets edged out of the rankings. Oh, I forgot to take a picture of my sketch, like I said, because I was gonna say I think I like the sketch more than I'd like this version. It's still cute, it's just that it doesn't look like the same Miku is my issue right now. Okay, let's move on. I definitely put in less effort. Well, hopefully this one will turn out a little bit cuter. Just be careful. The line right here. See if I can do the eyes together so I don't make it too botched. I've been doing like the hatched lines a little bit more for like the inside of like the pupil area for eyes more recently. Ever since I've been drawing Solomon, because I've been doing more inking with him every so often. And I like how cute it looks. Sometimes I don't end up doing that and I change it. Also this pen, because of how I hold it, it digs into my skin. You can already see where my calluses that I've had for like way too long. It's the way how I grip my pen. It sits right on this line. I know most people like hold it up higher. I just can't when I'm doing anything that requires a little bit more steadier of a hand, I guess. So sometimes I don't like using these pens strictly for that reason. Little cookie. I'm gonna do this instead. Even though I know it's not correct. It's better than having no snowflake, I think, even though it's still very janky. I kind of want to learn how to make like one of the roll cakes. I know it's just like a sponge cake and you have to make sure you know how like to roll the thing without it cracking, I guess. I feel like I expelled all my energy into the first drawing. Which is quite normal for me. It looks so derpy. Gotta make this icing looking thing. Like an ice cream dessert or something. Kind of giving the same lighting and kind of detailing, I don't know, shading, hatching, whatever you want to call it, as like the first drawing. So I'm gonna add over here, and then I will darken up the one side so it looks kind of like more of a form that has depth, but also we have like a little bit of bounce light happening down here. Didn't do it as nicely, but you know, it's okay. Spread finished. I might do a very light outline or something. Even just dropping some sort of shadow on one side. I don't know. I'm just gonna outline the rest of this text because the lettering is just too faint, which isn't too bad, but I kind of want it to stand out a little bit more. Guess we'll leave it like that for lettering. And then I think that's what we're gonna do for the spread. I'll zoom out for you guys to see the entire thing after we do a little bit of close-ups. Oh my god, her eye is so... But yes, this is kind of the final look for our little spread. I don't really remember where this one is in here. The funny thing is, like, did I use maybe somewhat of a similar font? I'm not too sure. I guess I still use the same method here. But you can kind of see this one's very much like pastel kind of colors for the most part. And then this one was much more of like a higher contrast with the orange and the blue. I still like this color palette more and just how I did the inking. But this one still turned out fairly cute. So yeah, 2024 Miku, 2026 Miku, or Snow Miku. I'll show you guys like a very quick glimpse of like the one I did of Selwyn earlier. So I did ones with like blue and orange, and then I ended up using like my Energel Klena, and I used the dark blue ink for these ones instead of like picking either black or something much darker, or picking black or something like just a darker blue. So I just ended up using that instead. Yeah, I kind of miss doing these. But hopefully I'll be able to do some more water-based marker doodles. It's been a while for sure, and hopefully I don't get too burnt out from doing them. I do kind of miss just having fun with minimal color palettes like this every so often. So I think this is where I'm going to end the video, and I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Bye!